So today I'm going to tell you how to sign for the right football team. Now, I made this video because I remember when I was about 14, I want to say, I had a decision to sign between two teams. And ultimately, looking back in hindsight, I picked the wrong team. I can't lie. And the reason why I picked the wrong team is because I didn't really analyze the factors going into it. I sort of just followed my friends. Like I didn't actually look at how good the teams were, what league they were playing in, what style of play. I didn't do any of this research. I was training with both teams, and then I literally just said, okay, cool. I'm just gonna go to the same team as my friend. I'm just gonna play for the same team as my friend. Because before that, before 14, I'd never really played with any of my friends. Like I always felt like sort of like an outsider on all the teams I played for. So, for example, my first team, I remember when we were young. This was the team where I was at from like 5 years old all the way up to like 11, from 5 up to 11. All these guys, they all went to like the same schools. They were all in sort of the same boroughs. So in training, these guys will always be talking about what they did in school, about how they would play against each other in school matches, in like athletics and all of that. And then obviously me, because I was in a different borough, I just I didn't have anything to talk about. So I always just felt like an outsider. Same with like the next team I joined. I always felt like, the next team I joined, obviously I'm from East London. The next team I joined was far out in Essex. So all these guys were like local to the area, and then it was just me from East London. So I always kind of felt like an outsider. So when I was 14, I just decided, you know what, yeah, it's time for me. Let me go and let me just play with my friends. So obviously, by the time I got to that team, I knew about probably like half of the players there. I probably knew from playing against them, from school, from playing on the same team as them. I pretty much knew about, I'm going to say like 6 or 7 guys I knew. But ultimately, after 2 years, I was like, yeah, that was the wrong decision. I should have just went to the other team because the other team I was training with, they had much better players. What's it called? They played in the higher league, just a much better brand of football. And plus, they'd been together for a long time. The team that I joined, they were a completely new team, so it was hard to like gel everyone together. It was hard to. There was no like style of play initially, so everything was just a bit messy, and ultimately it just didn't work out. So today I'm gonna tell you what factors you should consider when you're signing for a new team, so you can be successful, so you can get the best out of your football career, so you don't look back like me, so you don't waste like 2 years and looking back and go, like I wish I would have signed for this team instead of this team. So today I'm going to tell you how to pick the right team to sign for. So the first point is literally something I mentioned in the intro, which is you have to know your goals. You have to know exactly what you want. And what I mean by this is that when you're joining a new team, you have to think about things like, are you trying to start every single game? Do you want to start every single game? Are you a guy that's okay with coming off the bench sometimes, starting some games? Or are you just happy riding the bench? Are you just happy being a bench warmer and saying, yo, I don't really mind. I might get 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I don't really mind. But as long as we're winning games, are you one of them guys? Or are you a guy where it's like, no, I have to start every game. I have to start every game. Because obviously, if you want to start every single game, then you're gonna have to start looking at things like positionings. Like when you go to like top teams, you have to look, okay, cool. Can I actually get into this starting 11? They're winning games, but can I actually get into this starting 11? But whereas if you're a guy who doesn't mind, bench warming, then you can just go to the team and be like, all right, cool. They're winning games, so I just want to be part of it. Let me just go there, sit on the bench, and just do my thing there. So you have to think about things like this. Also, do you care more about winning or care more about your development? Because obviously there are certain teams where you can win games, which is all well and good. Obviously, you always want to win games. You always want to be competitive in games. But maybe the team that you're on, who's winning games, it's not best for your development in terms of you don't really like the coach's style of play, or you're not getting as much minutes as you want. So are you willing to sacrifice the winning part to actually get better development, better coaching, and just play under a coach who sort of gets you, who sort of understands your game, understands the style of play that you want, understands the style of play that your teammates want, and just little things like this. Obviously, if you go to trials, you need to understand, you need to like analyze. Okay, what's the team environment like? Like, have they been together for a long time, or are they new to each other? Like, do they take training seriously, or are they sort of just here for a kickabout? Like, you have to think about all these things especially when you're training with the team. I feel like that's your opportunity to just really like have a look and just see, okay, cool, what are the coaches like? what are the players like? How often do we train is always a big one, because obviously if you're trying to maximize your development, obviously you want to be training as much as possible, because I've played on teams where we've trained 3 times a week, and I've also played on teams where we've trained where we only train once a week, and sometimes them trainings will get cancelled, so we literally have no training sessions. It'll literally be play the match on Saturday or Sunday, and then literally a whole week will go by, and then we'll just play another match on Saturday on Sunday. No training, no nothing, no going over tactics, and obviously that's not good for your development. You want to keep getting your touches in, keep learning off your coaches, keep competing with your teammates, just keeping that morale going, keeping those competitive juices flowing. Because obviously you don't want to go a whole week without seeing your teammates. Because how are you going to build chemistry like that throughout the season? Especially when it gets tough, especially when you start playing better teams, especially when you start getting into that running where, you know what I'm saying, it's Christmas, it's December, it's getting cold outside. People are, you know what I'm saying, people might be getting demotivated, or it's March and your team's in a title race and things like that. Obviously, you want to be training as much as possible, as consistently as possible, so you can win games and just play well, essentially. So those are the type of things you have to look out for. As well as this, are you a guy that who sort of likes being a big fish in a small pond? Because I used to know a lot of people like that. What I mean by that expression is that there'll be some ballers that I knew, like great players, like top players, but they'll be playing for some dead team, some horrible teams, and I'd always tell them, whether it was in school or I knew them from somewhere outside of school, I'll be like, bro, you're a baller. Like, why did you play for this team? Like, you could literally play about three leagues above. Like, why did you still play for this team? And then I'd always try to convince them to leave, but they just never left. And I just essentially think that they just sort of enjoyed being like the main man there. They just sort of everyone telling them how good they are. Everyone's saying, oh yeah, he's our best player. You know, at the presentations, you know, every single season they're winning the players player of the season, the parents player of the season. Like they're basically just the man, and they're okay with that, which is cool. But I always try to convince these guys, yo, come to my team, like we play at a high level, or go to another team, they play at a high level. Obviously some guys aren't really like about that. They don't really care about, playing at the highest level. They just want to enjoy their football. They just want to, they just like enjoying their football and sort of being the main man, and they're good with that. So obviously if you're one of them guys, then you have to pick your team accordingly. You won't go to a team at a higher level. You'll probably be satisfied with playing at a team at a lower level, but where you're the star man, where you play every week, you score the goals, or you're the star center back there and everyone loves you. But yeah, if you're that type of player, that's something to keep in mind as well. Is that these are essentially just all factors that lead into your decision making about what team you want to sign for as a young player. As well as this is, you have the money, the fees that teams are charging, because obviously when you're a young player, you are not a professional, and especially if you're not an academy, you're gonna have to pay a season fee now, because my little brother is going through that stage right now, and obviously I think the summer just gone, he was looking at joining a new team. Some of the teams that he would try for, he would go to the trials and the teams would want to sign him. But as soon as they say like the signing on fee, it was something ridiculous. I remember there was one team in the area that if you're from East London and I say this team, you know them, bro. They were charging extortionate fees. I'm telling you, like, I'm pretty sure for a whole season it was like was it like £700, £800 for like the whole season, whereas other teams are charging like 200, 250. This team were trying to charge like 700, 800, and my brother probably would have joined that team if the fees weren't so high. But obviously, yeah, obviously, if you want to pay that, you can pay that. But the thing is, in the area, there were other teams at that same level who were charging like 200, 250. So my dad was like, no, I'm not paying the 700 to £800, where there's other teams in the same league charging £200. So obviously that's another thing you have to factor in, just the sort of like the cost, whether it's a seasonally cost, whether you have to pay every week, every month, every 3 months, however they structure their payments. That's another thing that you're gonna have to consider until you eventually make it pro, or make it to the age where you can earn money instead of you paying the team is paying you. So that's another factor you have to consider. I touched on this point before, but another thing you have to do is that, like I said, go to the training. What I would do is I'd go to the training sessions and just sort of analyze what the coaches are saying, what the players are like, and just what the overall environment is like. So if you're at a team right now and you're thinking about leaving, let's say it's mid-season, let's say it's right now, let's say it's like November time, you're thinking about leaving, you're not really feeling your team, you're thinking about, oh, next year I want to play at a higher level. What I would say to you is that try contact whatever team you want to go to, contact the coach and say that, yo, I wanna sign for the team, I want to play at a high level. And then obviously go to their training sessions and keep going to their training sessions throughout the season. Just keep going. You don't even have to play any matches. You can still play for the team that you're currently on, but just keep going to the training sessions. Keep going to the training sessions with the new team you want to join, and just keep playing and just keep training. And then eventually you start to look around and you'll be like, all right, cool, I like this team, or you don't like this team, or you look around and you say, okay, cool, can I get into this starting 11? How good is the players are the players in these positions? How good are the players in these positions? Like, will I get game time? Does the coach rate me? What are my teammates like? Do they take the training seriously? And you can just gather all these thoughts and then just make the decision and be like, all right, cool, I want to sign for this team. Or no, if you don't want to sign for that team, then you can just call up another coach and say, yo, I want to just train throughout the season. And then you just repeat that whole cycle again. Maybe you train with them for like 10 training sessions. You do 10 training sessions, you see how you like it. If you want to sign, then you keep training with them, you keep training them, you keep impressing the manager. But if you're not really feeling the team, then you can move on to the next team, give it another 10 training sessions, and just continuously just do this throughout the season until you find the team that is right for you. Because what I've realized is that so many people have done this. Like even I've done this. Like I wanted to leave a team, and then halfway throughout the season, I just started training with a new team. And the good thing about this is that most of the time, especially like in the UK, most of the time the coaches don't really have an issue with that. They don't really say no past a certain age. I feel like if you're above the age of like 18, then they'll probably say no. But if you're a young player, if you're like 12, 13, 14, then they're not going to say no to you coming to training, because they see it as, all right, cool, this guy can come to training. If he's dead, then we can just tell him to go. But if he's good, then we have a player on our hands. That's how they kind of see it. So you can just go to the training sessions free of charge. Just contact other coaches. Obviously, I'd say make sure that the teams that you're contacting are in a different league to the team that you're already at, because halfway through the season, you don't want your teammates and the parents of your teammates and your coaches finding out that you're training with other teams in the same league, because they're going to be like, what's going on? And even the other players on your new team are going to recognize you. They're going to be like, wait, why is this guy plays for so and so, like why is he training with us? So obviously just make sure it's in a different league. Obviously I always made sure it was always in a different league, so that nobody really knew me and I could never sort of get found out about training with other teams. And yeah, essentially I would just do that, to be honest. Like that's probably the best as a young player. That's probably the most foolproof way of signing for a new team. Literally throughout the season, just train, pick a team that you might want to sign for, train with them for like 10 weeks. If you like it, cool, stay with that team. If all the factors align with what you want, all the criteria just aligns with what you want, your game time, the teammates, the environment, the coaches, then just keep training with that team, impress the manager, and then yeah, by the time next season rolls around, next preseason rolls around, you're there, you're in the team, you're in the starting 11. But if you end up not liking the team after 10 weeks, then just go somewhere else, pick another team, and just do another 10 weeks. Just keep rotating like that until you can eventually find a team where a team that's right for you. So that would be my advice as a young player. The most foolproof way. Just train with other teams throughout the season. You don't even have to necessarily play matches there and then. You can still play for your old team, but just be training with the new teams on the side, so you can actually what's it called? So you can actually get a proper feel. Because if you try like join new teams in preseason, there might not be enough time. Let's say you join a team in preseason lasts like what? There's probably about what 6 weeks. So if you join the first team at preseason and after 3 weeks you end up saying, "Oh, I don't like it," there may not be enough time to find another team, because in that time teams in your age category have already got their players. They've already got their players. They've already decided they're starting 18 or 16 players or however long it is. So it's going to be harder for you to sort of establish yourself in the starting 11 if you leave it too late into preseason. So my advice would be, if you want to leave early, if you're already thinking about leaving your team at like November, then start contacting coaches. Saying you want to go train with them. give yourself however long you need. If it only takes you 4 weeks to realize that this team is not for you, then you can go. I'm not saying it has to be 10 weeks, but if it only takes you 4 weeks and you say, nah, this team is dead, then you can go to the next team. But however long it takes for you to find out, okay, this is the team for me or this is not the team for me. That's the point. So literally, yeah, just train throughout the season, and then obviously, but when you find your team, by the time preseason rolls around, the manager knows you already. The players are familiar with you. They know your name. They know your game, your position. They know what you're about. And obviously, that's going to give you an advantage over the other trialists who have just come and nobody really knows them. Nobody knows their name. Nobody knows where they've played for or their position or any of that. So that would be my advice. The last thing is that just don't get caught by your team, because I've heard about people getting caught by their team and them getting released, like them getting cut off the team like early into the season. Like I know one guy, he got caught training with another team. I think training with another team in his league. So he was playing for one team and then he was training with another team, but the two teams were in the same league. So obviously he got caught, he got found out, and I'm pretty sure his team cut him. His team basically just released him like halfway through the season. I think it was like February, March time. So that was peak. So if you don't want to get caught, make sure you try with a team that's in a different league. Obviously, you want it to be a higher division. So yeah, that's all I got to say for this vid. Hope you enjoyed. I've been JT and I'm out.